So let's think about our reading to write concerns when it comes to looking at Aquifer with Tim Winton. This is probably more than Big World, one of the best pieces that we can use to launch into writing styles and different ideas and different concepts. The most important thing that we talked about with this was the idea of a motif, the concept that we're dealing with. And let's have a look at what the internet has to say. You see here, this is the one we're interested in, a dominant or recurring idea in an artistic work. So it's used as an example, saying superstition is a recurring motif in the book. And oftentimes it's mixed in with the idea of thematic concerns and thematic concepts. But to me, a motif is something a writer's showing you very clearly through repetition, through use of aphorism, through whatever it is that they're doing that creates and shapes that idea of the motif. And the reason why I am interested in motif, particularly for Aquifer, is the idea of, as was pointed out, the idea of time. Time is a big player in Aquifer. Firstly, of course, if we go back, if we go back to the very beginning, we see the aspects of time already playing out in forms of memory. Familiar street name is there. Not long ago, I was stirred from television, so woken up, a memory wakes up the past. The view widened, I saw a shabby clump of melaleucas and knew exactly where it was. The idea of this macabre discovery had taken place. So you get memory of place, you get memory of image, and then you get memory of event. Now, that's one aspect that's being played out in this particular story. But of course, we think about the most important thing that occurs in this particular story. And that, of course, relates to this little bit here. 1194, and here a man with a BBC voice announced the exact time. So I did that for years, alone and in company, listening to the authority in the man's voice, and there's a key word there. He sounded like he knew what he was on about. At the third stroke, it would be the time he said it was. It was a delicious thing to know that at any moment of the day when adults weren't about, you could dial yourself something worth knowing, something irrefutable, and not need to pay. So what you get there is a young person actually able to create an exactness in their world. They've got something they can pin reality to. They've got something that says this is a certainty, this is an absolute. But what the story then presents, really thematically, is the idea that certainty is the only thing certain about certainty is uncertainty. I know it sounds terrible. Fear is fear itself and all that. But that's what's going on here, that the child, once they realise that there is a chaos to the universe and there's an entropy to our existence, that all levels of certainty start to diminish. And so the first thing we look for in terms of style, and that's what matters in reading to write, what is it that Winton has done to shape that, to make that work as a motif, to heighten the theme of memory, of chaos, of entropy. He returns to the 1194 voice quite regularly. So here we get him returning to that voice. You've got this situation here. By this time I was beginning to have second thoughts about the 1194 man. My parents bought a kitchen clock which seemed to cheat with time. A minute was longer some days than others. An hour beyond the fence travelled differently across your skin compared with an hour of television. I felt the time turn off. Time wasn't straight, and neither was the man with the BBC voice. So the idea of an authoritative concept of what time is being played out quite significantly now in the fact that chaos is now starting to work. Time is nothing that I can hinge upon. It's a great little concept, and it's a great motif that's played out through this particular story as it moves ahead and as we read. And that's what we're looking for in reading to write. We're not necessarily trying to work out how to respond to this in terms of an essay, we're trying to work out how to respond to this in terms of our own writing. Okay, so what is it that's going on? There's one event, this event of this boy dying and then returning home to it. But what's the writing around that? What's happening? What's going on? Now, as the story comes to a conclusion, entropy enters everything. The decay of the town, the decay of the area, the coming of the drought, the depletion of the aquifer, the removal of the water table. Things change, and the past isn't as rich or as vibrant as what it once seemed. And this is one of the key and central concepts going on in Aquifer, is the movement away from beauty to chaos, from order to chaos, from completeness to decay, which is the state of the universe, entropic state. And we get this final reminder about the 1194 man. I was right to doubt, here we are, I'll just get the thing up. I was right to doubt the 1194 man on the telephone. Time does not click on at the stroke. It comes and goes in waves and folds like water. It flutters and sifts like dust, rises, billows, falls back on itself. When a wave breaks, the water is not moving. The swell has travelled great distance, but only the energy is moving, not the water. Perhaps time moves through us and not us through it. So what Winton's doing there is extending upon his metaphor and concluding and using it to holistically complete the theme. And that's the kind of writing we're going to explore in this next week.